influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when you talk about the sales and all this type of. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that bullshit.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit of run.
Nas. But remember, Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade.
Yes.
So Nas was my idol when I was young. Like you did, came to dressing, the wordplay, the music, everything. I was a superior Nas fan, period. I'd never take that away from him. But then as I got in the game, you gotta realize that your rivals would be idols, and not to take anything away from that, I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation.
Jim Jones went on Shannon Sharpe's podcast and straight up claimed he's not just relevant, but more influential than Nas. The moment he said it, everything went wild. 50 Cent didn't even bother naming names. He just dropped an old federal transcript on Instagram and let everyone figure it out. Now folks are digging up wiretaps, old videos are popping up everywhere, and Jim's in the gym shouting disses like he's training for a heavyweight bout. But this isn't only about Nas, and it's way bigger than ego. It's 50's subtle way of showing the whole industry that he's untouchable, and reminding people how certain names magically sidestepped indictments.
Into light and started going crazy that these kids love me. They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them though.
You know what I mean?
A lot of them though.
No, me, Jim Jones. No diplomats, no nobody else. Me, Jim Jones. Check my track record, then check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries, then check all them entries and shit. And I'm not taking nothing away from nobody, but I hear the comparisons and then be trying to act funny when it comes. No, I've been spanking a lot of this shit about the industry. I've been putting on.
Jim might have wanted to prove he's got weight in the game, but he might have just cracked open something that goes far beyond music. There's a reason why Jim mentioning Nas always hits with extra sting. Their tension didn't just show up out of nowhere. It's got deep roots going back to 2002 when Nas went on Hot 97 and randomly trashed Cameron, calling his album whack with no real explanation. That was all Dipset needed to declare war, and Jim dove right in. From there, it got messy fast. They were trading insults on mixtapes, and Jim wasn't just rapping tough, he made it personal. He even threatened to smack the kufi off Nas and kept that energy blazing on tracks like We Fly High. It wasn't just rap beef, it was raw street-level disrespect. But here's where things get twisted.
I got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better than Nas.
It don't matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the Diplomats but you.
Hold on, Jim. Hold on.
That shirt too tight.
Hold on.
That shirt too tight. You want to go back to I Really Mean It? I Really Mean It started. We could go back to the history, bro.
But you didn't even say that, bro.
Just a year ago, Jim wasn't even dissing Nas. He actually praised him. The respect flipped to shade in no time. It all went left when Jim showed up on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's podcast, and Fat Joe decided to stir things up. Out of nowhere, Jim dropped one of the wildest takes in recent hip-hop memory. He didn't just say he was more relevant, he called himself more influential than Nas. The Queensbridge legend behind Illmatic, God's Son, King's Disease, the man still packing out Madison Square Garden in his 50s. But Jim wasn't backing down at all. He didn't trip over his words, he doubled down with confidence. That interview didn't just stir the pot, it kicked it over and set the whole place ablaze before anyone could even react. After dropping that first wild take, Jim didn't lay low. He jumped onto another platform, this time on Shannon Sharpe's Nightcap with Shannon and Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson, claiming he was just there to clear things up, but really he poured even more gas on the flames. Shannon wasn't about to let him coast. He kicked things off with tough questions that had Jim squirming. But what Jim said next had viewers literally pausing the episode to replay it. Just when it seemed like he'd back off the whole I'm more influential than Nas talk, Jim went even harder. He dragged up old Dipset versus Nas beef from the early 2000s, acting like he was the biggest Nas fan turned rival. He tried to play it slick by giving Nas props on his fashion game, calling him one of the flyest ever. But he always circled back to the same claim. Nas doesn't influence the streets like he does. Jim wouldn't stop there. He even accused Shannon of only inviting him on for clicks, which lit a fuse under Shannon. Shannon snapped back. This the biggest podcast you ever been on, turning the whole thing into a shouting match.
This the biggest podcast you ever been on. Do you know the podcast you been on bigger than this one?
Hold on. We off topic. Hold on.
No, hold on.
This is what I do.
You see you in your feelings? When you get big, you get invited to Club Shay Shay.
This is what I do.
Nas get invited to Club Shay Shay.
Shannon went from chill host to sparring partner real quick. He made it clear that if Jim wanted to throw jabs, they could settle it in the gym. When Jim told Shannon he was better than Nas, Shannon didn't just question his music, he challenged his strength. It turned from rap talk to workout war, with Jim hoping a flex-off would prove he's still got it and deserves respect. But while Jim was busy talking gym routines and acting out for the cameras, 50 Cent was quietly moving behind the scenes, dropping receipts and keeping that federal label hanging over everything like a dark cloud. Meanwhile, the audience was going wild in the comments. Folks couldn't get enough of seeing a retired NFL Hall of Famer stepping up to defend Nas. One fan even said, "Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done. Jones, you're delusional. Shannon, thank you for bringing it up." And people were eating it up because it was true. Why were they so quiet when Jim first said it? While all this chaos was unfolding, 50 Cent was just sitting back watching it like a chess master. He wasn't laughing though, he was calculating. And right when people thought this whole mess had peaked, things got even pettier. That's when fans started digging up an old clip that's basically the ultimate disrespect. See, Jim didn't just get ignored by Nas back then, he got laughed off stage. And in 2025, that old humiliation is back and spreading like wildfire. But it didn't stop there. While Nas stayed quiet and Shannon was getting hyped, there was another player lurking in the background. 50 wasn't missing a thing. As soon as he heard Jim saying he was better than Nas, he didn't hesitate. He just laughed and went straight for the jugular. He dug into his endless vault of receipts and dropped one of the most controversial rumors in hip-hop. He didn't even need to say Jim's name. He just hit Instagram with that slick caption, "Individual 1."
You gotta start buying baggy your clothes, big fella. You too big, man.
You talk about you in the gym. Now you want to get me? You want me to see me in the gym?
Oh, we could do
Since
that.
you like to talk that ish, now come see me in the gym.
We talking about
come
working
see
out.
Me in the gym.
What we talking about? Working out or strength?
What
we talking about? Working out or strength?
Work however you want to do it.
We talking about
since you got money.
And we talking about
put your money where your mouth is.
So you talking about working out?
Run them stacks.
You talking about working out? I burn you. You talking about working out or strength? Because you probably can lift a lot more than me.
Whatever.
You're bigger than me. You're probably stronger than me. But if you talk about working out, I'll burn you.
This ain't what you do. This ain't what you want. You are doing good when you talk about Nas and Jada. You don't want to see this.
The internet lost it. Because anyone who knows the story knows that isn't just a nickname, it's a federal label. It comes straight out of the Tekashi 6ix99 case in 2018 during the 9 Trey blood trial. Prosecutors played a wiretapped call where someone was allegedly giving orders to violate Tekashi for snitching. They never named Jim in court, but they called him Individual 1. The voice was never officially confirmed and Jim was never charged, but that label stuck. And 50 knew exactly what he was doing by bringing it back into the spotlight. But the streets, the blogs, and especially 50 Cent never let that moment fade away. Now with Jim going on all these podcasts trying to look tough and bait Nas into a battle, 50 saw his shot to remind everyone the streets don't forget. He went digging through his IG vault and reposted that meme he once deleted real quick, the one that said, "So that's why they ain't pull him in." That caption alone had everyone screaming, "Say it ain't so, Jimmy."
Jim Jones was never better than Nas. Jim Jones will never be better than Nas. And this is coming from somebody that's not a Nas fan. I love Dipset. I love the Diplomats. I love Bird Gang. But we not about to start rewriting history because Jim Jones got confidence.
You know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them.
Let's rewind to 2019 when the Shade Room posted court updates from Tekashi's trial. A verified courtroom reporter said Tekashi named Jim Jones as a 9 Trey member. 50 couldn't help himself. He jumped in the comments clowning. Then there was that infamous video of 50 looking extra dramatic saying, "I'm afraid for my life. I mean, Jimmy is gang gang." The internet had jokes for days while Jim was clearly heated. But here's where it really flips. 50 didn't start beefing with Nas. He's been going at Jim for years. This whole Nas debate just handed him the perfect excuse to drag Jim all over again. Way back in 2007, 50 stirred the pot by bringing Jim Jones and Jules Santana on stage during a G-Unit show, right when Dipset was falling apart internally. Cameron took it as straight disrespect since the crew was already splitting up behind the scenes. Fast forward to 2019 again, during the Tekashi 6ix99 trial, Jim Jones got tagged as Individual 1 on a wiretapped call prosecutors played in court. Jim was never charged, but that label stuck like glue, sparking endless rumors online. And you know 50 kept receipts. When Jim saw 50's latest round of posts, he tried to play it cool at first. He dropped an old school Bird Gang photo dripping in Dipset vibes with the caption, Why you keep lying? LOL. I'm going back to sleep. Free male matrix till it's reversed.
I never got to, did I ever got to see Nas? I never got to sit down and have a conversation with Nas and things like that. I had called you about it and things like that. That was like still one of the people that I never got to have a conversation throughout my history of rap and things like that. I think I would love to have a conversation with Nas. I wouldn't know if he knows it, but Nas was one of my all-time favorite rappers coming up and things like that.
I've heard you say that.
Since the barbecue and things like that. Like he really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anybody.
That free male matrix was a shout out to his longtime friend serving over 11 years on racketeering charges, a clear jab at 50, calling his narrative fake and twisted. But Jim didn't leave it there. He went back to the gym and dropped another flex post, trying to prove he's still solid and unbothered. He wanted to show he's not rattled by 50's trolling, but everyone knew the shots were landing. While Jim kept flexing online, the drama refused to cool off. Fans were dissecting every move, hunting for new dirt, and pulling up old interviews like treasure hunters. Blogs were dropping headline after headline. Is Jim Jones really more influential than Nas? Wherein in the comment sections were a war zone. Jim didn't help his own case either. He kept giving interviews where he tried to explain what he meant, but somehow made it sound even more disrespectful. He'd say things like, "I'm the voice of the streets," or "I'm out here with the people daily," making it seem like Nas was some retired legend with no real connection left. Every time he said it, the reactions got crazier.
Honestly, I can't, like, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice about him. How did you do that? What's the first sentence? What the fuck do you write about him? I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record. Like, I'm like, yo. The used to have so nervous was like B.I.G., Pop, right? Even Cannabis, like Eminem, he'd have you like, if we go at it, dog, we gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? But these Jim Jones, like, I respect you getting your money. You're like, exactly, right?
Meanwhile, 50 Cent was still clowning from the sidelines. He wasn't just reposting memes anymore. He was dropping old video clips of Jim sounding extra friendly with shady characters, pushing the idea that Individual 1 wasn't some forgotten rumor. The captions were lethal, stuff like, "History lesson time, pay attention," had everyone buzzing. But here's the twist. Nas wasn't even saying a word. That silence spoke volumes. Fans were praising him for staying above the mess, while others speculated he was quietly watching it all unfold. Rumor was Nas's team didn't want him involved at all. They felt Jim was reaching for clout and didn't deserve a single bar in response. Even other rappers started picking sides. Some were backing Jim, saying he's always been active in the streets, calling him certified. Others flat out laughed, saying Nas was too legendary to even entertain the conversation. The divide made the whole situation even messier. But it didn't stop there. Jim tried one last move to flip the narrative. He posted himself in the studio hinting at a new diss track. The caption? "Say less." Fans went wild, speculating he'd drop direct shots at 50 or Nas. But plenty were already rolling their eyes, saying he was just desperate to stay trending. One thing was clear, the beef had gone far beyond music. It was turning into a public chess match full of receipts, accusations, and old skeletons being dragged right back into the spotlight. And while Jim barked online and 50 kept pressing the petty button, everyone else was just sitting back waiting for the next twist. Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe not to start ducking this challenge now. Jim was talking tough. "Gonna talk like a podcaster or gonna walk what you talk? My sneakers are tied." He wasn't backing down at all. He called Shannon out for the whole world to see. "You already challenged me in public, might as well finish the job, champ." He even roped in Ocho Cinco, saying, "He don't want to do it in public? Let's do it in private." I know Shannon's rep as an athlete is on the line. As long as you're the witness, we don't duck no challenges. Size don't matter where I'm from, run it.
Yeah, Jimmy boy, you should have never brought this up. Y'all are only 3 years apart, and Nas is just like murdering you. You asked us to look up the stats, and here they are. Like Jim Jones, like you got a couple songs. I mean, like literally, it's a couple. But we're talking about Nas. Let me show y'all Nas's last projects. Nas been getting it in since 2018. Jimmy, when the last time you put out an album? Oh, would you look at that? You have been dropping music. You've really been dropping music. But nobody's heard it. Nobody's listening, bro.
While 50 Cent kept trolling from the sidelines with his usual petty finesse, Jim was acting like he was suiting up for a heavyweight bout. He wasn't just talking smoke about Shannon either. He fired off at anyone over 40 who dared defend Nas. He posted, "If you 40 and up arguing with me about Nas, you already lost. Y'all fell for the bait. My streams go up every time Mel got viral. I'm teaching you older artists a lesson in marketing." He wasn't done either. Jim kept going at the old heads. "Y'all stuck in yesterday, mad at the way things run today, tighten up." And then his caption really spelled it out. "I said what I said. P.S. I will wrap circles around any artist from my era who dares step into the booth. Bring some money with you because this game ain't free. We outside in the field. Take that how you want, but we working every day." Meanwhile, Nas stayed stone silent. He didn't say a word while Jim kept poking, baiting, and claiming he's the more influential one. Fans were split. Some loved the drama, but plenty were calling Jim out hard. They said he was begging for attention, desperate to drag Nas into a fight he wasn't even thinking about. The craziest part? Everyone knew if Nas ever did respond, it wouldn't just be a regular diss. It'd be a full-on lyrical execution. Nas's pen game is legendary, and Jim would be risking his whole rep. But while Jim kept ranting and flexing, 50 was playing the quiet game. Too quiet, and that's when people get nervous. Because when 50 goes silent, that's usually when he's loading up something big. Rumor is there might be even more unreleased wiretap audio floating around. If it's real, Jim might have just talked himself into a problem way bigger than rap. So now everyone's watching, waiting to see if Nas will end this with bars or if 50 will let the streets settle it for good by dropping the truth when it's too late to run. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the latest drama and deep dives. Drop a comment below with whose side you're on, and share this with anyone who needs the full story. See you in the next one.